Americans like to work. We like to earn our own way, and most of us do exactly that for most of our lives. But some of us aren't that lucky. Some of us get hurt or get sick and we simply can't go on working. That's why there is a disability section of the Social Security law. If you're a good, hardworking person who has paid the required amount of your FICA Social Security taxes, and your doctor says you simply can't work anymore, you're probably entitled to Social Security disability benefits. Regardless of what anyone tells you, it's good advice if you are disabled and unable to work to pursue a claim for Social Security disability, or SSI, based on disability, and get it filed immediately. Reason? Disability claims can take a very long time to process. And unfortunately, many claimants for disability benefits have experienced severe problems and hardships simply because they had no idea how long the process would be and only realized it when it was too late, that they should have filed an application much, much sooner. Social Security disability insurance is every worker's disability insurance program. It's a payroll tax-funded federal insurance program of the United States government. SSDI, managed by the Social Security Administration, is designated to provide income to people who are unable to work because of a disability. SSDI is a Social Security program, and benefits are only granted after a lengthy determination process whereby the applicant must prove that they are disabled. Applying for SSDI benefits takes time and effort. Some applicants may go it alone, but many rely on lawyers or other representatives for assistance. Today, the Insider Exclusive presents Robert Rayner and Christopher O'Connor, partners and founding members of Social Security Lawyers of America and the law firm of Rayner and O'Connor, to help you better understand how to navigate SSDI claims. Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly recognized Robert Rayner as one of the most influential lawyers of the past 25 years. In addition, Dr. Lee will be sharing real-life day-to-day experiences as they relate to Social Security disability and the administration's disability requirements. The Social Security disability system is so expansive that there is no way to cover the entire disability system in one TV program. However, there are areas of growing interest, particularly in light of the aging baby boomer population. The 5 most important areas to the aging baby boomer population are compassionate allowances, putting an end to the stigma of filing for Social Security disability, the growing number of claims and backlog for SSDI, the vocational requirements for meeting the disability criteria for Social Security disability, how vocational standards interact with medical disability standards, and the importance of qualified legal representation. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Medford, Massachusetts, at the firm of Rayner and O'Connor and Rayner Agency. It is my great privilege to introduce Robert Rayner and Chris O'Connor. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about not only your law firm, Rayner and O'Connor, but also the Social Security Lawyers of America. You both founded it, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why you founded it and what it's all about. It's specific practice, isn't it?
It is. In speaking with other practitioners, and it came to kind of our attention, I guess, and we collectively came to the conclusion that there's a need for advocates for people who are applying for Social Security disability.
Yeah.
Particularly in this economy, there's been a sharp increase in the number of people who need these benefits, people who have significant disabilities who've been accommodated by employers over the past number of years, long-term employees who've been accommodated by employers who no longer have their jobs. And as a result, we've seen a steady increase from 2007, 2008, 2009, into 2010, into the number of folks who are trying to get benefits from the Social Security Administration for various disabilities that they have.
Yeah.
There are a number of hurdles that they face in going through that process by themselves. A significant number of denied claims are as a result of what they call technical denials, meaning people don't fill out the paperwork properly, they don't submit it on time. And we saw an opportunity to help this group of
Yeah.
people.
It would seem to me, you brought up an example where someone doesn't fill out the paper properly and they're denied. It would seem to me, and this is the whole thrust of this show, when you pay SSDI, when you pay Social Security, out of your paycheck, this is your insurance policy. You're entitled to the disability income, and it would seem to me that the government might step up and say, hey, you've filled out this paperwork wrong, but here's how to do it right. But they don't do that, do they?
Well, that was, I think, the number one concern that Chris and I had is that there are too many people out there that are being righted away from bringing their claims for Social Security benefits, almost encouraged not to do so. And there's sort of a feeling of not being strong, not being patriotic, not being American if you go and recognize the fact that you have a disability and that you need help from a system that you paid into.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to talk about, putting an end to the stigma of filing for Social Security disability. I mean, it's your right, isn't it? You've worked, you're injured, you got injured on the job, you should be able to get it, right?
Right. It's something that you pay for, and you said that.
Another thing is, another area of aging baby boomers who are working longer is compassionate allowances. What is that, basically?
Well, it's something that has kind of been banging around for a while. The Social Security Administration, that just this year, has made a number of designations, and they're called listed impairments, and they've designated a number of conditions. They're called compassionate allowances, and if you can document that you've got these particular conditions. One that people might be familiar with is early onset Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
If you can document for Social Security that you've got early onset Alzheimer's disease, you're automatically going to be approved for disability benefits. You're not going to have to wait 6 months, a year, 18 months and go through the entire application process to get those benefits.
Yeah, and we're going to have a doctor on the show who's going to be talking a little bit about the diagnosis of that. Another area which is of growing concern to a lot of people who have experienced filing is a growing number of claims in the backlog, right?
That's right. The backlog is of great concern. The government is addressing the fact that there is a significant need and an increase in the amount of claims, as Chris described, by not cutting the budget when it pertains to Social Security benefits. If you do a little research, it's shocking to me how much money is sitting in the Social Security disability accounts that is available to people if they are bringing their claims.
Yeah, so the claims, the laws and the rules are written as archaic as any other government laws, right? Difficult to decipher, difficult to figure out.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is another area that we're going to be talking about, the importance of having qualified legal representation. Because what is the percentage of people who file themselves that get turned down for whatever reason? Is it high? It's high.
I would imagine that it's high, yes.
And they usually give up. A lot of them give up after that, don't they?
A significant percentage of the folks who we help through this process have at least started once and gotten either through step 1 or step 2 and given up along the way.
Right. Fortunately, we have with us today Dr. Lee, who will help you and our audience understand about compassionate allowances. So we're going to bring him on right now. It's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Lee. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
You work closely with Chris on the diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that procedure and how you can help someone get Social Security, qualifying for Social Security disability.
Well, I think the patient, obviously, usually the patient brought to the doctor attention by their relatives.
Yeah.
They usually don't want to looking for help by themselves because they usually don't realize they have the problems.
Is that your specialty, dealing with elderly people?
That's one of my specialty.
And how does this procedure work? Someone comes to you first, or they come to you, Chris, or what?
It can work either way.
Okay.
Dr. Lee's a treating physician. He's a treating psychiatrist, and in a number of our clients, a number of the people who we're working with, either have mental health issues to begin with, or if they've got a significant physical injury that takes them out of kind of a career, a life that they had, there's certainly always an overlay with depression, anxiety, and other psychological injuries. So very often, and more often than not, in all of the cases that we're working with medical providers like Dr. Lee.
Do you have to, under the Social Security regulations, their rules, do you have to get second opinions, or can you just get one diagnosis from one doctor?
Well, they're looking for diagnoses from as many different treating physicians are always the best. And Dr. Lee is a treating physician. He's not someone who we send folks to for consultations.
Yeah.
He's got patients and he's in the field working with this population every day. And fortunately, Dr. Lee is one of the medical providers who really recognizes the importance of supporting his patients in these kinds of applications and is willing to take the time to provide medical records and fill out forms. They're called residual functional capacity evaluations that help kind of move along these claims.
Right. As we all age, our mental acuteness diminishes. Where do you draw the line where somebody qualifies for disability?
Well, that depends lots of aspects. The main, like I mentioned earlier, the major issue is observed by their family members. For example, they cannot even find their place. They cannot manage their fund. They give away the money, and they live in a very difficult situation because of the mismanagement of the money and because of memory issues. So they brought to us. And what we do usually, we manage, first of all, we evaluate what's the function, the difference after in the past, usually past few years, and it found declining. And then whether they can perform their previous job and how disability they have.
And we're finding more and more of that in our aging population, aren't we, Dr. Lee?
Oh, absolutely. And especially the baby booming gonna come to this age, yes.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you working together with Chris here and Social Security Lawyers of America. One of the proven results of any law firm is what they do for their clients. And today we are fortunate to have one of those clients, Rick Ramirez, here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what happened to you when you filed. And you filed by yourself initially, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
For Social Security disability.
I did.
What happened?
I was almost immediately denied.
And why were you filing in the first place?
I was injured. I fell through a hatch in an establishment and fell through 8 feet down.
So you were injured on the job?
No, it wasn't a job. I was just...
You were just injured?
Yes.
Okay. The question comes up, we've had this earlier on the show, did you feel that by filing disability for Social Security disability that maybe you were doing something wrong, you didn't deserve it, you felt embarrassed about it?
Yeah, it was more embarrassment.
Yeah, because you wanted to work.
Of course.
Why was your claim denied in the first place?
They said there wasn't substantial, I forget the word that they used, but there wasn't substantial evidence.
So did you present medical records?
Yes.
And what exactly was wrong with you?
My discs, my lower back, and my knees, and rotator cuff.
Okay. And you had doctor's evidence that you couldn't work anymore. What was your skill at working?
I was a truck driver.
Okay, so you couldn't drive a truck anymore.
No.
And so what did they mean by there wasn't substantial enough evidence?
What they were saying was because I had filed after only my first surgery, and they said I had recovered, which indeed I didn't.
Now, let me ask you: Is that the standard MO with Social Security office that they don't want to pay?
Well, I don't know if it's they don't want to pay. One of the problems that folks have when they apply by themselves is you're relying on the Social Security Administration to do their job, which is to get the medical evidence to properly assess your claim.
Right.
It's a big job. There's a lot of people with claims. There are a lot of medical records to get and a lot of medical records to assess. One of the advantages of having an advocate is that's what we do for you.
Yeah.
We get your medical records and make sure that they have them. And we have forms that we send out to the treating doctors that address the specific issues that Social Security looks at. And that's
when you were turned down initially, Rick, did you file again?
Yes, I did.
And what happened then?
I was turned down a second time.
Now, when you came to Chris, you've seen these cases many times. What did you do differently that he couldn't do himself?
Well, I think we kind of understand the process.
Okay.
I mean, this is what we do. We understand what medical records need to be submitted and how they need to be submitted. We understand what forms and reports we need to get from doctors, and in a way that makes it easy to digest for Social Security. I think it's human nature to work on the stuff that makes the most sense and is easiest first.
Right.
So we try and put together a package of information, directing them to different regulations and statutes that help them find people like Rick disabled. Because clearly he was disabled. I mean, he's dealing with shoulders, low back, knee, and ankles. I mean, from head to toe, he's had surgical issues that are keeping him from doing a job that was a heavy job, driving a truck, loading, unloading trucks. And finally, we were able to get his claim moving through the process, and we got in front of a judge. And that's probably the most important thing we can do, is to kind of get to that end stage where you're in front of a judge, because you've got a guy like this who gets to tell his story.
And so when you get before the judge, what is the judge looking for?
Well, a judge wants to it's helpful to get a look at the person who's saying that they're disabled. Up until this point, the only information they have is on paper. And that's paper that's often created by doctors not addressing issues that are important to Social Security.
So there's a way that doctors have to write this information so the Social Security office understands it.
Right.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you could come down to the office here today. But thank you very much for coming, and you did a great job for me. When you get good results for your clients, they speak for themselves. And today we have another client, Larry Cote, on the show. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your case.
Well, I got hurt at work. I fell off a roof about this high on a scaffold. I was working on the ceiling. And when I fell, I hurt my leg. I busted my knee open.
Oh, really?
And I went to the hospital. And they said I already had a sprain in my knee. And after that, I was hopping around for a whole year at work.
So you went back to work. And when did you think that you should really not be working?
Well, I told my boss that my knee was starting to really bother me, and he always told me, I'll put you on I'll put you on light duty. I don't want you to go home or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my knee started getting worse, so that's when he put me on workman's comp.
What kind of work do you do? Did you do?
Upholstery.
Upholstery. When did you file a claim, and how did you go about that? Did you come to the law firm first?
I called Chris O'Connor.
Yeah.
And I asked him if he would take my case, and he sent somebody up, and he took my case.
So, Chris, when he came to you, tell a little bit about what difficulties, if any, you had with his case.
Well, Larry's case went reasonably well. He's another guy with a really strong work history.
Yeah.
And clearly, he worked for a year on just an awful knee. Ultimately, you had a number of surgeries on the knee to fix it, right?
You didn't have any surgeries prior to coming to the law firm?
No.
You just continued to work on it?
Right.
Wow.
So Larry's case kind of took a normal course, but it went relatively quickly. He applied and he was denied. We appealed and he was denied again.
And why were you being denied? I mean, you obviously have trouble working.
They kept sending me letters saying I was denied. I was denied like 4 times.
Three.
Through your law firm, he was denied 4 times.
Right. The process, and that happens. 7 out of 10 claims that are filed are denied initially.
Yeah, but it seems, well, you guys were doing it initially, right?
Right.
It seems to me if you had everything in order, why are they denying it?
Well, it's a great question. It's regardless of how nice and neat you put the package together, 7 out of 10 claims are denied.
I'm getting
the goal really in these claims is to get through the process and get to the end as quickly as you can. Because at the end, when you can put a face to this claim for disability, your chances of being successful, particularly when you've got an advocate, go way up. And people get bogged down at stage 1 and stage 2 because they don't have the documents that they need.
And a lot of people give up, don't they?
And they give up.
Yeah. Now that you've had great results, would you recommend the law firm of Rayner and O'Connor to somebody else?
Yes, I would.
Absolutely, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
I appreciate you being on the show. We have guests on the show primarily to show the results, and that's the bottom line. And I want to thank you and wish you well.
Thank you.
Both of you founded the Social Security's Lawyers of America firm. And what is your overall objective? You're in the state of Massachusetts. What is your overall objective in helping all claimants? Is that everywhere or what?
Well, our objective, I believe, at this point is to grow state by state and to do our very best to grow and grow sensibly. The influx of new cases that we have presently it's huge. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have very capable advocates working for us. And another part, as Chris described, is the fact that there's so many claimants out there, and that is increasing at the same at a very fast rate. So as of now, we work in Massachusetts and in Connecticut and Rhode Island. We're going to be adding on states as we go along.
It seems to me that when you file by yourself, you have a greater likelihood of being declined for whatever reason. You don't know the rules, okay? So you would recommend that a person choose a lawyer, right? And you mentioned there is no initial consultation. You're paid when you're successful. Is that correct?
That's right. We're paid.
So there's no, if a person's out of
when-
work, he doesn't have to pay now. It's only when the claim is approved, correct?
Correct.
And there's a maximum on that.
That's right. And there's an urgency to getting the claim filed as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that it can be resolved as quickly as possible. And that, I think, is the most important aspect of having a lawyer or an advocate participate.
We've enjoyed having you on the program. There's a lot of people who are disabled or looking to file a claim that I'm sure will be contacting you both. And thanks for your dedication to what you do. And we'll put the information up on the screen of how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
being
much,
with
Steve.
us. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.